to them and telling them they're leaving them for each other because they're in love with one another. And these two women who didn't really like each other, just kind of tolerated each other, ended up being best friends as a result and kind of coming together as a result of it. It's a really, really good, well-written show. Humorous. I wouldn't say it's ha-ha, laugh out loud funny all the time. It's not. It's more of a dramedy, I guess, or something, I guess you'd say. I mean, it's funny, but it's not like, rolling the floor funny, but it's funny. But it's a really well-written show, and I definitely advise you watch it. We are on episode 9, I think, of 13. Watching it with my husband because he wanted to watch it as well. If I weren't, I would have watched the whole thing by now because I binge watch everything because I would have watched the whole show by now. But he wants to watch it, so I have to wait till he gets home and we watch it or whatever when he's available to do that. So anyway, check out Grace and Frankie. It's a really good show. But the thing about that show is that Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda are being paid the same amount that Martin Sheen and Sam Waterston are being paid, the supporting roles. And their roles, the ladies' roles are the leading characters, the leading roles. They found out they're being paid the same amount, which is offensive to them. And because they're doing more work because they're in almost every scene, or they are. One of them is in every scene, pretty much. And B, they shouldn't be paid less just because they're women. If they were men, if they were reversed and they were men, they would be paid more than their female counterparts would be. So, it's a double standard and it's unfair. And I think that, so they're going to fight for it. So it may or may not come back for a second season. We'll just have to sit by and see what happens. But hopefully they'll be back because it's a really fucking good show. The other thing I want to talk about was the blood ban lift. The United States government has now recommended that the FDA has changed its mind, is now recommending that the blood ban lift, or the Obama administration is recommending that the blood ban on gay men be lifted. If you didn't know, as I've talked about before, gay men are banned and have been banned from giving blood since the onset of the HIV crisis in the early 80s because of, fear or whatever, of polluting the blood supply when they thought it just came from gay men or whatever. Of course, as you know, HIV and AIDS can be transmitted by anyone. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, bisexual, whatever. And in many cases, the prevalence is in heterosexual white women more these days, in black women, than there is in gay men. And so it's not like, it was in the early 80s. So if that's true, if the preponderance of people have changed, or at least to a great degree, the percentage has changed and shifted away from gay men, from being the primary carriers of HIV in this country, then if they're going to do that to gay men, they should have to do that to all black women and all Caucasian women, and all senior women, because those are the groups that are getting HIV at the fastest rate these days. So at least that's the study I read. I mean, that could be outdated, but that's what I read. Regardless, you have to treat everyone the same in this country, and they're not, and that's very unfair. Oh, yeah. So over the last week, I think this happened the day after my last show. I was like, oh, fuck, and it was so horrible. These two guys were in New York City. I'm sure you've read about it or heard about it already. And they were, hold on. Sorry about that. Pushed the wrong button. Oh, God, I hate this. Sorry. I apologize. It won't shut up. I hate this shit. Hold on. There it goes. Sorry. Anyway, they were in New York City and they were eating in Chelsea, and a neighborhood restaurant called Dallas Barbecue, which, ironically is called Dallas Barbecue because Dallas is the fucking most homophobic, racist place in the world. It's not really, but I mean, it's one of the worst. Anyway, so they were eating there, and they were leaving because one of them got an instant message or a text message on his phone that said something about a death in his family. So he immediately got up to leave and bolted out the door. And as he was doing so, he accidentally spilled a drink on the neighbor's table. And this black guy gets up and says, calls them fucking gay white faggots or something like that. And one of the gay guys confronts him and says, what did you just say to me? And all of a sudden this black guy just stands up and he said, what did you say to me? And he turned around to his partner or his boyfriend or whatever. And the black guy stands up and just pummels him over the head with this wood chair. And you can hear it like hit his head, like cracking his head or whatever. It's like, poof, like right over his head. And he runs out the door like a fucking coward. And it's horrible. So I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, you can go to queert.com and look for the Chelsea gay couple chair beating on there. And you can see the video there. And there's a video of the guy. It's clear as day. I mean, pretty clear. You can see what he looks like. They have a video of him coming in the bar, and they have a video of him doing this actual incident. And it was actually not reported to the NYPD initially, but they were investigating it as a hate crime. Initially, they had said that they weren't going to consider it, and that it was not, the incident was not based on sexual orientation, that the suspect himself is gay, and therefore it's not based on sexual orientation. That's why he's not, considered. It's not considered a gay bashing or whatever, or that he can be held to that standard. So, regardless of whatever he is, you don't just hit somebody in the fucking head with a chair and then run out of the building like that. And I mean, people don't have a fucking restraint anymore. I think there's something wrong with society. I mean, there's a lot of fucking things wrong with society, right? But I mean, who does that? First of all, if it happened to me, the truth is I would have gotten up and would have hit the fucker back, or I would not have just stood there. I would have hit him in the head. I would have hit him a lot harder, and I probably would have killed him, because I do not. First of all, I hate injustice. Injustice pisses me off, like to the nth degree. Which, if you listen to my show, you probably know that already. And I hate people who I hate bullies. I hate bullies. So those two things combined would really just fucking piss me the fuck off, to the point where I wouldn't give a fuck, and I would just literally hit the guy over the head in the face. I would do the same thing he did to me, which was the worst thing you can do, because then you're also going to be charged with battery or assault or whatever. So the best thing to do is not to retaliate. But I mean, come on, who the fuck doesn't want to? Now, this gay guy did not retaliate. He did not go and hit him over the head with a chair or whatever, but he was injured pretty badly, and there's a picture of him and what happened to him. So anyway, if you go on there, look for the guy. If you know who this guy is, please let people know, wherever you live. He deserves to be turned in and to face justice for what he did, whether he's gay or straight or whatever. He has to face justice. Andy Cohen, if you know who that is, he's the guy on Watch What Happens Live. A lot of people don't like him, and a lot of people love him. I'm one of the people who really likes Andy Cohen. I think he's funny guy. I don't know if I would really like him or get along with him in person. But in terms of, him behind the television doing what he does for entertainment value, I really do like him. But apparently he came out and he said that, I saw it on the show. He was being interviewed by Sonia Morgan, one of the Real Housewives, and asked, who's the most famous person you ever slept with? And he said Lance Bass. And so then all of a sudden, all this craziness came about, Lance Bass getting tweeted to death or whatever. And he said, this was his response to Andy. He said, first of all, I'm not going to tell you what I do in the bedroom. Sex is a broad term. I can just tell you right now that there was no Andy D. God damn it. I hate these fucking advertisements. Jesus. He said, first of all, I'm not going to tell you what I do in the bedroom. Sex is a broad term. I can just tell you right now that there was no Andy D going in my B. It was so nice and romantic, and it was just a nice time. It was one of those things where I needed someone to hold on to. I'm not going to tell you what went down, but it's not what people are thinking. So for some reason, he needed to let people know that Andy Cohen did not fuck him in the ass. So I don't know why it's so important that people know that. I guess he doesn't want people to think he's a bottom, which I don't know what's wrong with that. But I guess for some reason he just didn't want people to think that Andy Cohen had fucked him. I guess because they didn't. But whatever the case may be, he still had sex with a guy. So, I mean, it is what it is, right? There's a hilarious story about this hate group that has what's the name of the hate group? Called the Open Door Baptist Church in Easley, South Carolina. And they have a domain, and the domain name, here it goes again. Shit. And the domain name is, where is the guy? I can't find the domain name. Where is it? Shit. I don't know. I can't find the domain name now. But anyway, the domain name now, when people go to it, they put it on all of their signs and stuff like, God hates faggots or whatever they say. It's not the West Barrow Baptist Church, but it's similar. And at the bottom of the sign, they have their webpage on the bottom, like www.opendoorbaptistchurch or whatever.com. And so some people bought the domain name when it expired because they forgot to renew it, which happens, if you don't renew your domain name immediately when it expires, then someone else can jump in and buy it, and whether you owned it forever or not. So that's what someone did, a gay person and a gay rights advocate, and went in there and actually redirected the domain to point to it's a hardcore site called scaryfuckers.com, which has tattooed skinheads having sex with each other and having cream pie orgies and all kinds of crazy shit, like ice picks in their dicks and shit like that. Anyway, but it's so like the most hardcore thing they could find. I thought it was fucking hilarious and so fucking serves them right. People are so fucking rude and mean. Fuck you, motherfuckers. Okay, and then there is a new article out that discusses whether, as a gay person, gay guy, or I guess a straight guy too, whether you have what's called now, they're calling a dad bod. And they're calling a dad bod anything that's like sort of in between fat and skinny. So you're not fat, you're not obese, but you're not like skinny or really muscular. So you're kind of muscular-ish and kind of have a little bit of fat on you, and they call that the dad bod. And so technically, if your BMI, your body mass index, is in the dad bod zone, which is between 25 and 29, you probably have a dad bod. And so they had people who have what they call dad bods on there on the site or whatever, and it's usually just mostly guys who are like have worked out a little bit or a lot, or maybe they work out once a week with weights and they drink a lot of beer. That's basically what it is. So it's not somebody who's fat, it's just somebody who's like most average guys, so they call it a dad bod. And I don't know, they're always coming up with new terms for shit, like a dad bod or metrosexual or lumberjack sexual, lumbosexual, whatever the fuck they call it. And spornosexual. It's all these fucking terms, and it's always irritating to me because why can't people just be whatever the fuck they are and not have to be categorized and put into some specific group and made into something that someone else can say this is where you belong, where this is where you fit in. That really fucking irritates me. It may not irritate most people, but for me, I think people should just be able to be what the fuck they are and not have to live up to some particular standard of beauty or of ugliness or of fatness or of skinniness or whatever. I think it just really helps perpetuate self-hatred in a lot of ways. So it doesn't matter if you have a dad bod or not. You're just cool, you're sexy, whatever. But I don't know. But dad bod's fine with me. I personally am not, I've never been, even when I was in like perfect shape, good body, which I'm not anymore, but when I was in like perfect shape and had a really good body, I was not a discriminating person about body type. I really didn't matter that much to me. A nice body is nice, muscular. I love muscular bodies. Who doesn't love tight muscular bodies? That's great. Whether they're bottom or top, that's fine. Wonderful, terrific, sexy, that's hot, wonderful. But it was never necessary for me to be attracted to someone, as long as they weren't like super obese, like 300 pounds and 5'11", or 300 pounds and 5'5", or whatever. I could be interested in them if I was interested in their personality. So whether they were a dad bod or like a twink or a daddy type or whatever, I was always into all kinds of guys. So I never discriminated against guys. For me, it's a lot more about the person. And that's one of the things about me. I was always so different than most gay guys, when I was single, because I was always very, I was much more interested in the person than the superficial aspect of people. I always was able to look past this superficial exterior and look into the interior, and that's what I was mostly interested in. What was on the inside, who they were as a person, a personality type, if they were intelligent or intellectual or creative or artistic or funny or whatever, something about them that attracted me to them. For me, it was always far more, or not always. When I was a young teenager, I was pretty superficial about looks. Like when I was like 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever, I was pretty superficial. I liked only a certain type, like muscular guys or whatever. And that's the truth. But I grew out of that. And I think as we age, we do grow out of that, and we begin to realize what is important. And so as I was in my 20, 21, 20s or 30s and stuff, I really looked more